Before anyone asks, I did not buy No Man's Sky. It was gifted from Death God OP, and I would like to start by saying thank you for gifting me the game. Anything I have to say about it is possible because of you. However, this review is not going to be the kindest review I've ever done, so if you like the game and you don't like hearing negative opinions, I'm gonna warn you right now that this may not be the review for you. When it comes to No Man's Sky, this was a game I was very interested in. I wasn't hyped for it as many of my friends were, but I still wanted to be able to try it out. The thing that intrigued me wasn't even the game itself, it was the developers. This game was delayed upwards of 4 times, and I congratulate this. A company that wants to take time into a game and ensure that it works well before shoving it out is a huge thing that I look for when looking for a potential purchase. But this studio, Hello Games, really made a fool out of me and a lot of us in thinking that a developer who looks like they are always will. Really, I knew this was never the case, and despite how the game turned out, it's still a good sign, but unfortunately, there are a lot of companies out there who will screw you regardless of how much time it seems they're taking into the game. Now, my reviews aren't really what I would describe as a review. As of right now, I have 3 bullet points videos, and really, they're more like first impressions. I haven't played through the games that I review, but I do spend a lot of time in the game before I review them. Well, normally. When it comes to No Man's Sky, the frame rate was so bad, the game was so boring and poorly laid out, and it looked so crappy that I couldn't be bothered to open the game more than once. The problem was, I still wanted to make a review, so I tried forcing myself to play the game, and I still haven't wanted to. So why then am I making a video? Well, here's why. No Man's Sky did not care. They took no time into making the game fun and interesting, pretty, run well, so why should I? Whether or not this video helps you in deciding if you want to purchase the game, it's not my call. But I wanted to let you know where I was just so you didn't feel misled. Now that everything's been laid out on the table, let's get right into it. As usual, the first thing that we're going to look at is the settings. Firstly, I'd like to say that changing settings in this game is one of the most annoying things that I've ever done, regardless as to whether or not I'm using a controller or a mouse and keyboard, and here's why. Why must I hold down whatever button I'm holding down and wait for the setting to change? This is stupid. It's a waste of time, and every single hub that you scroll through is dictated by this. Now, yeah, it's fast, but when I want to change a setting real quick, this is always annoying because I end up clicking it, realizing nothing happened, and then I have to go try again, this time holding it down like I'm supposed to do. Honestly, if they think I'm stupid enough to accidentally hit something I didn't mean to, just stop treating me like a child. The whole game is set up this way too, them treating me like a child and holding my hand. But let's venture into the settings. You have Discoveries, which shows you where you are, where you've been, and other such things. You have Journey, which is kind of like a stat tracker. Then you have your controls. WASD is to move around, as you'd expect. You have your strafes, interacts, melee, scan, torch, and zoom. Now, the thing about this game, and I'm going to say this a couple times, is it really feels like a console port, and a badly made console port. The game, expectedly, is made simple, and you don't have a lot of controls on access here, because it had to be made for a controller to use. But I actually don't have an issue with this. We have games like Elite Dangerous along with other flight simulators as well as Star Citizen coming out, and all of these games have very intricate controls, so it's nice to be able to play a space exploration game casually like this. I don't always want to simulate a real helm. Sometimes I would like to venture out into space without being all hardcore about it, but I will say that it does seem really bland even for a console setup, and it makes the game feel really lazily done. There feels like there could have been a lot more going on, especially fighting-wise, but I'll get into more of that later. Then you have your options, which offers mouse smoothing, volume, and sensitivity. You also have your game data, your control settings, your rumble feature, and then extras. And I find it almost kinda idiotic that here in your options menu, you have your quit to desktop. What kind of setup is this? I actually used Alt F4 the first few times I played because I had no idea where the exit game was. I was almost afraid I jumped into Sword Art Online for a second. And then lastly, you have your graphics, which for a graphics menu is laughable. I will say that having the option between windowed, full screen, and borderless is very nice. This always comes in handy, being as how some games run better borderless and some run better full screen, so the fact that this is here is a good thing. You can choose which display you want, which is also very good. You have your resolution, which supports up to 4K, VSync, anti-aliasing, FOV, which I'm very glad this is in here, otherwise I would never have been able to even play the game as much as I did, which says a lot since I've only put 90 minutes into the thing. Anyway, you have your gamma, anisotrophic filtering, texture, shadows, generation detail, reflections, show HUD, and max FPS, which when you first start the game is set to 30. My eyes were killing me from the low unstable frame rate and the narrow FOV. Not like it mattered when I turned the FPS up to max, because even though the game is smoother, it's still unstable to a crazy degree. So the choice is pretty much, do you want low frame rate unstable or high frame rate unstable? That's all we can offer you. Now the worst thing about this graphics menu is that every time you change one setting, you have to restart the entire game, and as you saw before, doing that is a pain and not worth my time. But if you think that this is the only issue with the menu, you're sadly mistaken. This game is optimized in a very strange way. As I said before, it's a console game, so it was optimized for really low-spec systems. This means that low-spec systems tend to run the game better, and for me personally, on a 980 Ti, I have to run the game at highest settings to achieve a reasonable frame rate. If I tried running it on low or medium, I get frame rate issues. This sounds weird, but when I first started the game, it was running at 32 to 47 frames per second. So naturally, I turned the settings down, restarted, and ended up in the 20s. Now you may say, well, what does that matter? If you're on high settings, then what's the problem? And as fair a point as that is, this really displays laziness, as well as being a frustrating process to go through, being as how you have to restart the game every time you change every single setting. And even now, with all the settings turned up, the game still runs at a very unstable 87 to 90 FPS, whereas someone with a 760 will get a solid, stable 60 FPS at medium-high settings, because a 760 is a lower spec card. Many people are blaming consoles for holding games like this back, but I've seen many console ports come to PC and look and run absolutely amazing. This is not the fault of the consoles. This is poor, uncaring, lazy development, and I do not support this, but hey, let's move on to gameplay. So the load times on this game are tremendously fast. Besides booting the game up, this game takes no time at all to start, and I love that. Perhaps it's because I'm using a 7200 RPM hard drive instead of an SSD. We all know that SSDs are much faster, but this game runs crappier on nicer hardware, so this game probably chugs on those poor enthusiast PCs. Regardless, I do appreciate fast load times, and I will give them a gold star on this. But as soon as you start the game and look at the world, you can tell really easily why it took no time at all to load. The textures, mind you, are on high, and the game looks like some kid threw Play-Doh all around the universe. Everything is smudgy. They went with a cel-shaded realism look, and it's not sharp enough to be realistic, but not vibrant enough to be cel-shaded. Everything looks like it has dust or fog on it, and really, regardless as to what kind of frame rate I'm getting, it looks like I'm playing a console game. If you look up graphics comparisons, you'll notice that the console version and the PC version look almost the exact same. The only difference is that the PS4 runs better. It's stable, and this shouldn't happen. This shouldn't happen on any platform, but here we have it. So the game looks terrible and runs terrible, but if the game's fun, who cares, right? So Barry, I ask you, how's the game itself? This game is one of the most boring games that I've ever played in my life. I have a question. Have you ever downloaded a free phone game and played it for like 2 minutes and thought, wow, this is repetitive, tedious, and annoying. You close out and literally never open it again. That's this game. This is that mobile game that somehow got on a more hardcore platform, console and PC, and doesn't even try to be fun at all. Barry, I don't think you're being very fair. Can you please explain what you mean? Gladly. As soon as you start the game for the first time, your suit checks all of its systems and tells you what's working and what needs to be fixed. And it's the exact same systems every time. Regardless, you have to go collect plants and minerals on the planet you're on and fix up your ship so you can fly around. Okay, so what's the premise? What's the point of the game? Well, it depends on how you look at it. The main premise is to get to the center of the universe, and then something cool happens. I don't know what happens, and I wouldn't tell you if I did. Other than that, your job is to go to every planet, upgrade your ship, your gathering gun, your backpack by collecting items. These items don't do anything more than fix your items or upgrade your items. You don't get or find new items as you go, you just upgrade what you have. So really, the only point of planetary exploration is to keep your suit and ship from breaking, and your suit and ship are made of tinfoil and rubber bands, so you have to stop and fix your stuff a lot. While you're on these planets, you see the same plants, the same environments, but sometimes there'll be snow. Or sometimes it'll be a desert, and the animals are different. Except that they're just a combination of random animals that we already have. Remember Avatar: The Last Airbender? It's like that. So really nothing that interesting. Then there are outposts and broken ships that you can find and upgrade your ship and meet aliens. Aliens! That sounds really cool! Yeah, you'd think, but they don't talk, they don't move, they just sit there on their iPhones and text while you rummage through their stuff. You can't engage in a fight with them because you aren't allowed to use your guns whilst inside their base. So much for total immersion, but maybe I'm being too harsh. Regardless, the AI is boring and stupid. The aliens not moving around is the least of the poor AI. I would have hoped that animals react to you differently depending on what they are, but mostly the small ones will run away and the big ones will ignore you. Unless you attack, they normally just sit around. Every now and then you'll find two animals hashing it out, but once one dies, that's all you get. If the herbivore wins, it'll walk away like it never happened, unless it sees you, in which it'll run away because you're scarier than the Crocosharkaruodon that it just fought. Or if it was a carnivore, it'll come for you next, but its health is pretty much gone now, so not scary. The AI should have been a selling point of a game like this, but it's as generic as ever. I hate to say it, but Ubisoft has better AI than this, and really, that actually hurts to say. Okay, Barry, you say the AI is boring, but at least you can fight the animals. You're put in a life and death situation with animals you're not familiar with. That's kinda cool, and really, even this is watered down to an extreme degree. Animals won't actually engage with you unless you start it, and the fighting is literally point the laser pistol, fire, fly around, wash, rinse, repeat until the animal's dead. Animals aren't even the ones you'll be fighting the most. Normally it's those little scanner robots that have infected the universe and happen to be on every single planet. These things get mad at you for just existing, and it's inconsistent. Some planets you travel to will have them and they'll be really chill. They'll just sit there and no matter what you harvest, what you kill, they'll just scan you and leave. Other planets, all you have to do is land there and you're being swarmed, and it's not like there's a terms and conditions to read for each planet to figure out what I'm doing wrong. They're like 8-year-old kids who are put in charge of the whole planet altogether. Some of them are really touchy and take it way too seriously, and others are too busy picking their noses to even care about you. But the point is not about the AI. I already talked about that. I wanted to discuss melee. Pointing a laser pistol at something and firing it is not fun. It's not satisfying, and when I kill something, I don't feel like I've achieved anything. It's tedious and boring. I've never felt like I've been in a tough situation because firstly, your character heals faster than Wolverine, and secondly, even an enemy with a ton of health is not a fun fight. If I could grab him and throw him around a bit, fight him in the air with my jetpack, launch grenades at it as I'm flying away, or have massive ship battles, give me some more action than point and click. We already have generic point and clicks. Call of Duty exists, and even its firing mechanics are more fun than this. I'm just not having any fun with this game at all, and I'm really trying. But when you have to force yourself to try and enjoy something, this game is nothing but a time sink, and a bad one at that. You spend more time in your inventory than actually playing the game, and this inventory system is stupid. You guys made a console game, but set it up like a PC RPG game. What's the point of that? If I'm playing this and collecting metal for my ship, just add it to my ship. This game is supposed to be simplistic, but you had to add this archaic inventory system, which is just annoying. If I were to compare the game to anything, I would say it's Minecraft. It's an unstable, ugly, boring Minecraft, and for me to say Minecraft is more entertaining, there's an issue. Well, Barry, you can't honestly say this game looks worse than Minecraft. That's way too subjective. Here's the thing about that. If I don't like how Minecraft looks, I can download a texture pack and change the way it looks, so no matter how subjective I am, the game will look the way I want it to. This game just looks like poop, and I can't change it. Okay, but saying it's more boring than Minecraft isn't very cool. You can't fly spaceships in Minecraft, and fine. Maybe the game has a bit more to offer, but at the end of the day, you're going to the same reskinned planet, collecting the same plants for the same reason, all to try and make it to the center of the universe. As subjective as I'm being, the game is boring, and again, if I have to try to force myself to sit down and play it, then it's not a good game. I should not have to get used to this. I should not have to learn to enjoy it. This should come easy. The game should make me want to play it, and if it doesn't, who can be blamed for that? Some may answer, well, that's your fault, and if you believe that, that's fine. I truly hope you're enjoying the game. I'm not. I've said before that pre-orders are stupid. Season passes are anti-consumer, and hype causes more problems than good. The fact is that games like this can and will come out because of us. We allow these types of games to be made, and again, if you like the game, then there isn't an issue here. But if you feel that this game was lazily developed, had a poor launch on any platform, is boring, isn't fun, is tedious and repetitive, then maybe we can wonder what would happen if we stopped buying into the hype. Games would not come out the way this game did. You know how much money you'd lose if nobody pre-ordered your game and you launched it like this? people would be refunding it like crazy as they are doing now. And that company and companies like it wouldn't be doing these kinds of things. Really, it's up to the consumer to decide what they want. And again, if you enjoy the game, I'm happy. But I ask you this question. Is it really the direction you want games to go? No storyline, no direction, generic open world with nothing to do but collect items and keep yourself alive? Or do you want a game with multiple objectives, games that can keep you involved, games that run well and play well, and games that don't offer a multiplayer experience and then claim to have never offered it at all? Think about it. Your answer is not wrong regardless, but please, just think about it. This game again is No Man's Sky. It sells for an outrageous price of $60 or your regional equivalent. Sorry if I seemed a bit harsh, I really do try to stay as objective as possible. I wanted to say one last thing. I'm very aware that this game is not a AAA game. It wasn't made on a AAA budget, and I can understand that me complaining about some of the things I did may feel unfair. But No Man's Sky sold for a AAA price tag. It promised a AAA experience, and just like the AAAs, it lied to us every step of the way. We were promised many things that may very well be here, but not the way they said they would be, and they blatantly lied about multiplayer. If they didn't want criticism, they either shouldn't have lied as much as they did, or they shouldn't have sold the game for money. I would have felt bad if I just ripped a free game apart, but I didn't. If you want our money, you should earn it. Lying to take our money is scummy, and I've seen many indies who would have loved the chance to make a really big game most likely worth the $60 asking price, but after No Man's Sky, it's going to be hard to trust even indies. Welcome to gaming, one of the only medias that will screw us over repeatedly as we continue giving in to its every whim. And before I go, I gotta say this. There are too many people out there who believe that this isn't somehow our fault. We promote this. We give into hype. We pre-order games and we buy season passes. This kind of business would not happen nearly to the extent that it does had we been a bit smarter a few years ago. We could even stop it right now. But how much do you want to bet me that we will actually smarten up one day? I'll put a $5 on no. I'll see you next time.